liberty, and justice for all. So, roll call.
Bonham, Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Hedrick is here.
Lemming, Maynard,
Here.
Monroe,
Here.
Bowery, Knuckles,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
Reedy.
Next, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from March. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Anyone be inclined to approve the minutes for March?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for March 1st as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. So what the roll call?
Bothwell,
Should we amend the motion to either approve the minutes as corrected? I think these just came out. There may be people there
Yes.
that haven't received it. If the person making the motion would agree. I'll make a motion that we approve the amended minutes.
Adjusted motion.
I'll second that.
And well,
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Monroe,
Abstain.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes. Okay. Move on to the public hearing. 40-21, rezoning from agricultural to general business. The
Do you want me to that?
please, you signing the ledger.
My name is Brittany Nelson, and our address is 8014 Wheeling Pike, Jonesboro, Indiana, 46938. Me and my husband Kyle are here tonight to talk about our rezoning for our area. Currently, we are agricultural, and we are third generation beef farmers there at our farm. And we have our wholesale beef distribution license, and all of our beef has gone to butcher at a dairy processing in Pinville, where it is USDA inspected, and then our customers pick it up from there and their order halves or wholes, whatever they order. So we would like to rezone to be able to open a small store on our property. It's in an existing accessory building that we have. We want to make a 15 by 15 area to come and house our freezer beef So we would pick it up frozen from the butcher, bring it home frozen, and put it in our freezer, and it would be sold frozen. So people could come and have the ability to buy, if they wanted to just buy 10 pounds, or could only afford to buy 10 pounds of hamburger, or wanted to try our steaks before they committed to a whole quarter or a half of a beef. We also make soaps and seasonings, so I would have liked to have a display in there to be able to sell my soap seasonings as well. And once again, that would be, we have talked with Dean about what we would need to do to make it health department approved. And the process we would have to go through with that. We've talked about building to code and what we would need to do as far as with area plan to do that all properly. So that is what we are wanting to do to change to general business.
Did you ask if we have?
Yes, if the commission has any questions.
I have a couple.
Mhm.
Understanding this being more directed to you, Ryan, I think about this. We are rezoning the entire property for just the small area where they are going to be operating. My concern with that would be that that property is all on Muncie Pike. So there could be multiple entrances coming in if they wanted to expand to a used car lot or something else. There'd be a lot of room for them to do that. But as I have talked, Brenda, they would have, in order to do just the space where you're wanting to put this in, it'd have to be sectioned off and that sort of thing. So is it your intent for this to be the only business on the property?
I currently have dog boarding. We do watch dogs while people are going on vacation. That's the only other thing we have on the property. And yes, that is our intent to just,
That's your intent, just to be in this
yes, just to be able to sell our beef. Well, I can be home with my kids, so.
Would it be appropriate then to make that a stipulation if we were to approve and send this off?
Yes,
That
and we've had that discussion also. We've had the discussion as far as if she was going to expand or anything else, that it could take her out of, she would decide to do the whole pool.
So we can make that a stipulation that it stays to this 15.
Yes.
Brian, could you get her to speak into the mic? I can't hear her when she's talking.
Sorry about that. Is it on?
I don't think it's
Can
working.
you hear Bob?
Yeah, now I can hear.
You can hear me? Okay.
Just to clarify, it's the one whole parcel we would be rezoning, right? Or if they got a parcel out section, then want that.
Question I got,
Just real quick,
Like the whole, yeah,
it'd be the whole thing?
right.
Wouldn't it be better for them to ask for a variance to be able to do that than us rezoning the whole thing?
They have to do this to
Yeah,
meet
so that's what I
the,
meant.
to meet the authorized use table. It has to do a rezoning because it's not allowed at all with what they currently are zoned.
Can't go Sampson.
Mm-mm.
Explain that a little better, Brenda.
They, with what they're asking for in an ag zoning, it's not allowed at all.
What's not, to take it before the Board of Zoning
To do the business that they're wanting to do,
with a
It's not
special
a-
exception?
it won't take a special exception. It's not allowed at all. There's, if you look at the authorized use table for what they're doing, there's a blank spot for ag. So they have to go over to like general business to be allowed by right.
Now, the dog kennel is,
The dog kennel is allowed by right.
Because it's almost.
Is that permitted? Do they have a permit for that?
Well, I've got, had a discussion with Nelson's today over some concerns that may come up tonight. And it's one of the things I wanted to get to, spend all weekend on this. I've got an email as far as the dog kennel goes, from 9/3/2019, from our former director, who states that he talked to Chris Betzner, which is our former state inspector. And he said he had talked to you and determined you do not need a state design release. As far as I'm concerned, if you do not do any major remodeling or have a sign posted, which would require a sign permit, you do not need anything else. As I've mentioned previously, kennels are permitted use in your zoning district. Please contact me if you have any further questions, and good luck with your business.
Who stated that?
Larry Strange, our former director.
Well, just because Larry didn't go out there and do it right, we just covered one of those that he did in Board of Zoning. And we had to bring that guy back from Upland or Van Buren and have him do it again. So
Go ahead, Bob.
go ahead.
I went out today and walked the dog kennel with the Nelsons.
Mhm.
As far as concerns go, my biggest concern would be drainage.
I
from the dog
got-
kennel. Okay,
I was going to cover that too.
they've already gotten with Taylor and Sons to connect their drainage to their existing septic within the next 30 days. So they are more than willing to address that issue.
Well, I'm not satisfied that we can't take this back to the Board of Zoning. We've did it before. Here's the thing. If we could get this back to the Board of Zoning, spatial exception, we would have access to some control here. If we zone this general business, we have no control. We get this back to the zoning board, where it should be, in my opinion, back to the zoning board, we can make stipulations with that. And it does not follow them wherever they may go. They don't even stay with the property. When they go, spatial exception's done. And I think we need a little bit of control. We open this up, we're going to give them access to putting a car lot there or whatever else they want to put there. And we have no control over it. And that bothers me.
You have control because you can put stipulations with the general ordinance that they can't do with other businesses.
Well, we've already got issues with this because of the traffic out there. I've had numerous calls about the road being blocked and with some things that she's been doing out there, festivals or whatever it was. And I'm reluctant to pass this on. Now, I'd be favorable to take it back to the Board of Zoning, but I'm not ready to give up agricultural land for a general business access with some of this stuff that just don't make sense. Let me ask her a couple questions. How long have you been selling meat at this address, Mrs. Nelson?
All of our meat is picked up and sold from Adair Processing in Pennville.
How long have you been doing this?
How long have we been selling beef? For over
Yes.
20 years.
How long?
For 20 years.
Well, that's interesting. How did you do that when you didn't have a stamp, but you didn't have a legend on your beef?
All of our beef is processed at Adair Processing in Pennville, and it is stamped with a USDA stamp.
It is now, but it wasn't 10 or 12 years ago. You didn't get that approved until January the 12th of this year.
My husband and myself.
You was labeling over beef, that I have the pictures of beef that was not supposed to be sold. That concerns me. Now, I know you didn't even get your state certification until January the 12th. I've talked
After
to,
I called the department
excuse
and
me?
asked what, that was acquired after I called the health department and asked what steps I needed to take to do that.
but I'm saying you sold beef all this time with no state certification.
But it came from a USDA approved butcher. And I have all those butcher appointments from Adair Processing for the last several years where our beef has gone there.
You did not have a permit for that. till January the 12th.
As a wholesale beef distributor.
That's right.
The state technically told me I was not required to have, but it did look better to have that licensing. It was a free licensing that you could sign up for to have.
Well, I don't believe the
Right,
state
but it
told
was-
you that, because I talked to Dr. Sir down at the state, BOHA. And she informed me exactly what you've done. Now, I have a problem that we're not communicating properly here. Do you have a retail merchant certificate?
Yes, I do.
You do? Did you bring it with you?
I do not, but I have it on my phone.
Let me ask you this. What's your process taking your beef to a dairies?
Our process,
Yes.
I call and I schedule all the appointments a year in advance. And then my father-in-law hauls them to a dairy processing on Friday mornings. They are then butchered there and all of our clients pick up from there.
Okay, do you have an appointment scheduled now?
We have a beef in there now that went in on April 2nd.
On April 2nd. Okay.
Our first beef of the year.
What is the proximity of your manure and mud field to the creek back there?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Well, truthfully would help.
Well, I'm being truthful when I say I am unsure how to answer that question for you.
Well, the thing that we get on our thing here from the staff says the proposal seems to be at odds with the responsible development and growth at this section. Now, with all this in mind, I'm just not in favor of this operation going through. Tying up a road out there. We don't know where the cattle is coming in conjunction with the creek. We don't know how the traffic's going to flow in and out of your place.
A large barn lot that is used for all parking right now, as far as when people come and go from the kennel. So that barn lot, I mean, can house several vehicles. He has been in our barn lot and it is a very large area. We don't need to use the roadways at all. We have 2 accesses from the road. And as far as holding up any kind of roadway, really as far as being open to the public for business, my plan is maybe an evening a week and a Saturday morning to be open for people to come shop and pick up any hamburger or any made goods that they would like.
What about selling Jack Daniels in your baskets? You have a liquor license?
My Father's Day basket, yes, we took a picture and was going to sell a basket until somebody said, hey, you can get in trouble for that. You need to take that out of there. So then it was never sold. There was a picture where we posted we were going to sell Father's Day baskets with steak, corn, some potatoes, and a fifth of Jack.
Jack Daniels.
And somebody said, you can get in trouble for that. You don't need to do that. So we took the Jack out and we sold it without any alcohol in.
Did you need someone to tell you that was illegal?
It was an oversight at the time, but we did correct it and none was sold.
Well, it's your oversights that bother me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you speak on the, your events?
As far as my events, we hold a barn market in the fall. We've done it 2 times. Our first was when we opened the dog kennel. It was like our grand opening for the dog kennel, and we had some of the makers come out and put up their tables with their jewelry and things that they made, and we had a small little opening event. And then last year I held the event as well, and I have my approval for that event through the health department because we had to go through the COVID planning and all those things. So I do have that email where I went through and had that event approved. As far as, I did not know that we had to require a permit to have said events, but I am in charge of the events for the town of Gas City, like our First Fridays and our farmers markets. And those are the people that I had went to when I had discussed having an event and that I wanted to have a market. And none of those people, I spoke with them today, were aware, even for their First Friday events or for our farmers markets, that we had to have a permit through the county to do that. So that is something that we were unaware of, and we will do in the future, and I will do now for the city of Gas City when we host our First Fridays and our farmers market.
Cities outside of our jurisdiction, right?
But-
Doing it in Gas City.
So just in the county, any event in the county.
So one of the things for the board here, going through our ordinances, and we've both gone through it, some of the stuff that came through previously for these type of events never made it into the ordinance.
In all fairness, I like this idea. I think it'd be a really neat thing. Big on local businesses. My only concern is when I was here previously on this board, there was a big drive to keep away from spot zoning because that's what we would be doing here. We would be spot zoning.
Well,
Not really.
The next one's a half mile away, right?
Yeah, it's about that, maybe a quarter.
But that, when I was here previously, that was the big drive, is that the board did not want to spot zone areas. We wanted to go to more like a special variance situation because that stuck with you. And once you left, the property reverted back to its original zoning.
And it's just a specific thing for us and our family
Yes,
and
yes.
this business in general,
Yes,
not the
that's-
whole site, that it could be turned into anything else.
Yeah,
That
and
this
that's-
specific business with the Nelsons.
Yeah, that's, and so
Yes.
we would, that would go through a process and we would have it. And it's closed it,
Was done.
then it went back to agriculture. So my leaves it with what you're wanting to do, like you have some homework to do, and that's the start. That's always happens, but.
And we're trying our
Keep
best.
moving.
We are trying to do our due
keep-
diligence
keep
and
chugging- Keep chugging away.
see what all, I mean, every time you think you get one door closed, there's something else that you need to do. And we're learning that. I mean, we are new business owners that are trying to figure that out, and we are trying to do our best to do it. That's why we're here.
And I applaud your efforts on that. It's my question is that was the trend is, I've been gone for a long time. But like my spot zoning. I personally don't like spot zoning. However, I will side with what the totality of the board wants to do. Since I'm here this long.
And I'm like Robert, I think if we could do a special, then you say business, just like they move, business fold, they sell out, they, whatever. That business is there and anything can go there. When you leave it, business, whatever falls in our boots, the big list we got, anything can go in there. And from what I've been hearing from people living out there, they would be okay if it was a special exception. If they run their business, if they close it, they're done. But they don't want a general business.
Now, Brenda, you were saying something about we had.
In the past, when we do the general ordinance, we make a list of all the businesses that cannot go in, and it's in the general ordinance and it's recorded.
But because of what we are now, they couldn't go through the
But right now,
BZA.
you couldn't go in through BZA right now.
So in theory, we could write an ordinance saying nothing other than what they're asking for.
Right.
it's proposed.
This cannot go back to the BZA? I mean, that's the first step.
No,
I thought that was always the first step, on something like this. Am
no.
I wrong?
This, you have to go, because in the authorized use table, what they're wanting to do
Falls outside of it.
falls outside of that. You can't do the Board of Zoning appeals.
So this is one of the odd ones that sits outside the structure then.
Does anyone else have any?
So our options is give them free reign or nothing. Is that right?
No, we would put stipulations with it, Bob.
You're talking about long-term, right, Bob?
Yes.
I would go with the general ordinance.
So long term, if we wrote the ordinance properly, they couldn't come back and say, oh, they couldn't just go and open up another business because they'd be in violation of the terms set out.
Well, what if like Dollar General decided to buy it out and build a Dollar General right there? Would, if we, if the business, would that kind of thing be permitted?
I think that'd be, in my opinion, that would be permitted if we left it just general business.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like if you
Yeah,
just
but we
switch it
could
to general
put steps on.
business.
They can't do nothing.
They have this, they could do it if they don't put the stipulations, if there's the stipulations that a convenience store cannot, or a, and, you know,
They would
store
have
would
to
go.
come back to it.
So we'd have to write a very,
That's what, I did just write a blank check for the future.
we'd have to write a very strict, narrow ordinance in relation to it. It
Just
is
basically shall be limited to the uses.
that big list.
Would we be wise to get that ordinance and everything written first before we vote and approve it?
It's pretty much written right now, except for the stipulation.
Why don't we just, it's not written. We should have time to study this. We could table this until we all have had time to make a list of what's necessary.
I would be in favor of table until we can all read it, nothing against,
That's okay. I mean, however it needs to be
yeah, we
done.
just want to do it right. And it appears, that what you're gonna put in there is gonna protect everybody, but until we read it,
Yeah, we have other people out there that's concerned, and we got to think about them as well.
We also have to give them a chance to speak.
That's what I was saying. So that being said, do we continue with the public hearing and let anybody opposed to this proposal speak? I mean, is that the next? Or do we table it? Yeah, that's my thought. If we finish the public hearing,
Right.
that way that part's out of the way.
Basically, she is allowed 15 minutes questions, and then they're allowed 25 minutes rebuttal.
Right.
And it'll come back to 10 minutes for her to rebut.
Time, I think we let the opposition, anyone opposed to this petition, speak. Is there in fact any?
Sign it.
My name's Gary Hoda. I live in the neighborhood and I've helped take care of that boy for many years. I don't really oppose what they're doing. I have a problem with what everybody else says they're gonna do that they're not putting on the table tonight. They put in a dog kennel, no problem. They redone the end of the building, no problem. Ain't none of my business. This meat deal, I've sold meat for 35 years. I've never crossed out where a beef has been in government inspected, and I've probably sold about 600 beef in my lifetime. Covering up the label, it's illegal. Selling Jack Daniels, it's illegal. If you ain't 21 years old, y'all are not. It's the way it is. I don't have a problem with who she got helping her. I do have a problem with having to park in the neighborhood across the road. That's the problem. But as soon as somebody pisses off that neighbor, then where's she gonna park everybody? Charging to get in, I have a problem with charging to get in on agricultural ground. It's not the way we do business in the country. And I'm afraid to set everybody straight how it's going down. Everything that's been on the internet, the pros, the cons. There's not enough property there. in the corner of the tool shed that's set up to sell 10 hamburger or 5 steaks, or she didn't mention she could sell bison in there. That's another person coming in. There's other people, vendors, she got coming in. How many people can you put in a 12 by 14 with freezers? Think about what we're doing. I'd like to keep my ground agriculture only.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the opposition? Oh, fine. Take that as a no. Mr. Nelson would have 10 minutes to settle.
Okay, so as far as us rezoning affecting his agriculture ground at all, it will not affect him, correct? It will only affect our parcel. So his ground will not be rezoned any way different. All be the same. Is that all correct? Yes.
In a technical sense, yes.
Unless
It
you've
won't
got a
raise his
business,
property.
unless-
He's not even an adjoining neighbor. He's over a mile or more down the road. So it won't affect his property taxes, correct? It won't affect him as a farmer in any sort of way. As far as other vendors coming in or meat of that thing, I have friends that make jewelry and things like that that I would like to put in the store with my soaps and my seasonings. So I would be buying things from these people to put in our little store. That kind of thing. It's literally going to be a 15 by 15 building. He's come out and looked at it. It's not going to be any bigger than that. We have butcher appointments lined up, so I can house a small amount of hamburger at a time to sell out, and then the next butcher appointment comes and I can fill that freezer back up again. It's not going to be tons of freezers in there. Small space for me to have a small little store to try and make some income for our family off of what we enjoy to do in our farm. As far as selling liquor, we have never sold any liquor. We did have the instance where I took the picture and said, here's a Father's Day idea that I want to sell these boxes. But did I ever sell that? No. I quickly went back in and said, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. I took the jack out of that, and now we've replaced it with just a koozie. So we ended up selling Nelson Cattle Farm koozies in the Father's Day box for the dads. As far as covering any labels, our beef, I put Nelson Cattle Farm labels on our beef, but I've never covered up a stamp or a label, but it is labeled what is Angus and what is Holstein. So there is that. I don't, as far as parking in other people's property, the only other time that is ever used for parking is that we cash rent the ground across from us. It's a hay field, and that landlord allows us to use that for parking when we have our barn market in the fall. And we do charge $5 admission, or not, we charged $1 admission to come in, and then that money was donated back to the Underdog Salvation Rescue in Matthews. So everything we do, we try to keep within the community and just get community events that are good to bring your family out to and see the farm and have an experience that is positive out there, and use what we have for the good of the community and teach about the farm to table experience and where your food's coming from. So I don't really feel like I have done anything wrong in charging for people to come out with all the amount of work and effort I put in to host that event for everyone to come enjoy an afternoon, especially when I donate money back then to the rescue. So that is all I have to say, and thank you for your time and listening to me this evening.
So that effectively is the end of the public hearing, correct? So at this time, we could vote for a favorable petition to send to the county commissioners, or an unfavorable no decision, or several people mentioned today.
Tyson, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes,
I make a motion that this was denied and we give an unfavorable position to the commissioners.
So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second? So I believe that motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion that we table it till the next meeting or so, until we can see what that Nelson can and cannot do in the future. Bring it up.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to table this next meeting. Okay, roll call.
Boswell, Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
House,
Yes.
Hendrick,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Motion carries. So we'll table this next meeting. This time that concludes the public hearing. Move on to the next reports. Mr. Persinger.
Just, Mr. Mallon and I, a lot, and I've been talking a little, just to give you a little heads up, we're discussing, we're both new. Maybe drawing out new processes, the way we prosecute cases, looking more towards unsafe building law. So we're considering, obviously it would have to be with your consent and Mr. Mott's, doing some research. We want to do it where we would take it to a non-court matter, a number of things to unsafe building, and we can't do everything that way, but it would be quicker, easier, would not involve the court. Court next step would be the Board of Zoning Appeals, so it's obviously something we'd have to do with them. The time. Way rather than maybe get down in the court system. So just throwing that out right now, and obviously we'd have much greater detail if that's a way the staff wants to pursue. So that's probably all I have at this time.
Question about that, Mr. Persinger? By using the courts and fines then that are collected if the court order is not heard or not taken care of. That is the only source of income that I understand that comes back into our unsafe structures fund. That's the only way we have our unsafe structures fund. No funding from just general funds. That goes back into county general fund, right?
Right.
And so if we do away with the courts, and we're doing away with,
We're not completely
we
doing,
thought that,
we're not completely going away from the courts. I mean, some cases will still go in front of the courts, but our BZA is actually our quasi judicial court for those matters like Board of Works in Marion. Those things would go in front of the Board of Works over there. It goes in front of the BZA with us. And we've actually sat down and talked with Jerry Fosmeyer about what they're doing. We're still early in the stages of just looking at it, but it cuts down quite considerably.
There's still a process to collect fines.
Yeah.
It's not, what you're basically changing is you're cutting out the courts. You still have a judicial process. The Board of Zoning Appeals would act as the judge acts now. Actually, the director is going to act as that, take enforcement action. Then the appeal process, the first step would be the Board of Zoning Appeals. And the appeal process is only 10 days and it's much quicker. Much less time
So
consuming.
get back to the monetary part of that again. If we were to do that,
We would still be able to assess fines and
okay,
collect
but
fines.
if you assess fines, that money coming back in, it goes to our unsafe structures
Yes.
fund, or does it go back to the general fund?
Goes to the say building structures, yeah.
It's
By statutes where it goes, yes.
That's one of the to-dos.
Yeah, you hit the loose then. Stream,
That's a way stream we have.
questions for Mr. Christopher?
And like I said, we're just throwing out the beginning. We'll outline the whole process and fully inform you. We're just giving you tidbits. I mean, I think the staff is studying it, you know, and we're just, you know, how they want to proceed. It's just an idea I threw to them. Do you want to pursue this or not? And so that's where we're at.
The streamline.
And it would all, you guys are the ultimate authority. We're gonna, you know, it's only gonna happen with your blessing and how you wanna go.
Kyle, I have a question for you. In reference to the unsafe building law, there's a provision in there that stipulates that municipalities need to draft an ordinance as well. Do we need in Fairmount to go ahead and start drafting an ordinance, or should we go ahead and wait until this is further reviewed?
I would probably wait because it would make sense for all municipalities to have a similar ordinance, you know, for enforcement. So, I mean, it's gonna be a big project because you're gonna have to take it to all the towns and municipalities in the county and have a similar ordinance is the way I would envision. And that would make it the easiest way for enforcement.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we're basically taking that straight out of Indiana code.
Correct.
There's not a lot of us being smart. So it's already law, so.
Okay. Mr. Mullen, you have the director's report?
Yes, I've got a couple of things for you guys tonight. To start off, with, come on up, Aaron. We hired a new building inspector this week. This is Aaron Ellsworth. He comes with us. He started Wednesday. He spent about 8 years with the state. He was a state fire marshal. Well, I'll introduce you to the call.
Actually had Grant County at one point, about 7 years ago. I had it for a brief time and they shuffled me around. I had Delaware J, Blackford, Henry, and Madison at one point as well.
So I just wanted to introduce him to you guys. You knew who he was. We've got to go out about 2 days now so far, so we're still on those early stages, but I'm ready to get him to where I can just let him go and actually do my job.
What's their name?
So,
Aaron?
Aaron Ellsworth, yes, sir.
How do you spell
Ellsworth,
it?
E-L-S, Aaron.
Aaron, okay, I got you.
The other thing, wanted to bring Nicole up. Nicole, as you've seen through the emails I've been trying to send you guys as far as what we've got done in the first month, has done a heck of a job as far as coordinating, getting some of these demolitions up and running and going, so.
Thank you too for the communication. Really good.
And again, credit where credit's due, so.
Since we've been approved to use the highway department, in just the last 2 weeks, we were able to take down 3 buildings. We took down 107 the first week we were going with it, took them 2 days. They actually, if when years come around, I've got it to where the major property that we took down should be the first one. It's case 886, 107, actually got the, it's going around.
Oh,
I printed them all 5 minutes ago because this morning or this afternoon. They finally got everything busted. They're just in the process of filling it. The other two properties that we took down was 1009 Muncie Pike, which has been case, actually, we've had the court order since 2015 to tear down. When we went back to courts, Judge Haas approved us to go ahead and take it down without the new court order. And then we took down 1007.5 Muncie Pike, which is right next door. The next objective on the buildings to tear down is 415 South Water Street. And that would be a boring property that's been a case since 2000 and I believe 16. It was before, obviously, myself. I talked to David White this morning when he came down for the commission meetings. He's looking at maybe getting back a hold of me later on this week, starting next week, tearing down the boring property. Then after that, we're gonna sit down and reassess the list one more time to start that process. As far as anything else, myself and Ryan talked to Puckett last week. We did a walkthrough on Kathmandu. Along with the state, we walked with the state as well. His plans, I believe, was to walk away or leave it empty. He wasn't gonna do any more renovations, which is another discussion that we were gonna sit down with you guys today about on whether or not we want him to leave it empty or if we want him to finish it and just leave. That's up to the board. Also, he is talking about finally wanting to tear down the buildings that we have court orders for. We informed him that we already have the orders to move forward. If we were to delay that, that'd be something that we would have to have a hard contract that you guys would have to agree with, stating that he is to start the demolition on this day. If it does not start, we come in the next day and tear down. As far as that, I told him there was no guarantee that we were going to push forward with the demolitions either way.
We pretty much told them we were gonna bring it to you guys if we even wanted to entertain that at this point. So I'll leave that to you.
What's your recommendation?
I want to get them down.
I was gonna say,
Speaking
speaking from Jonesboro, take him down. We've waited long enough,
As soon as we started on the first one,
and he's already taken credit
he
for it
made
anyway.
contact. So
So your recommendation is?
right now, we've got 4 down. I was gonna bring it to you if you wanted to entertain it. He's willing to pay for it once we get it down. We've yet to see that, but we've yet to give him a bill either, so.
I'd say move on because
so
if you see Facebook out there saying, he make it look like you guys didn't do nothing,
I
he's
understand.
doing it all, he's trying to put it all, and it's his crew out there. It ain't his crew out there. I really wanted to step in and think, it ain't, but keep my mouth shut.
As soon as we, like I said, as soon as we started taking action, now he's ready.
My only thing, and I've talked with Mayor McNutt about this, there's been timeframes. We went through the process. There's been timeframes. If he has the money to pay to take him down now, why didn't he just start doing it? He knew he could.
That's what we
So
informed him
there's,
as well.
the community's waited long enough. The citizens waited long enough. This board has been involved with it long enough. If the money's, we have the money, we're already moving along, just let it go. And then it's done. At least that's my stance.
And the next thing that you want me to bring up is,
I was gonna bring it half this, but you're gonna roll.
well, you gave me a list to bring up. These are all the things that I deal
First,
with.
I have, you said something about Kathmandu. He kind of said he ain't gonna do no more.
We've
So
run
what
into,
is our concept, he lets that building just sit?
there's not much we can do. It's privately owned. It is heated. It is, he could say it's a storage building. Not a lot we can do. It's not setting as an unsafe structure, and it's not setting as an unconditioned building. So we were actually able to get into that building for the first time in 2+ years. It has pretty much been touched. Saw it 2 years ago. We were a little concerned with someone living above it. But again, we had Kevin with us, and it's existing structure. There's not a lot we could do with someone living above it. So right now, we're just kind of setting, it's basically taken care of. There's not a lot we can do with a privately owned building. I know Mayor McNutt's not going to be happy with that, but.
Well, that's understandable.
Right. Tamarack. Mayor may not be aware, Tamarack Trailer Court over in Jonesboro. We had court order to empty it out and get it all out. Jonesboro's decided to allow it to repopulate. We have tried to stay on top of it the whole time. We've been over there numerous times. We've talked to Alan, who was the manager over there. They brought 6 trailers in. We met last Tuesday with Steve Bury to get through the trailers that have come in. We're going to try to stay on top of that. That's been a thorn in everyone's side for years. So again, we're getting remodel permits, relocation permits. They're getting permits to put in meters. We're looking for site plan. We're just trying to dot every I, cross every T, and stay on them as far as making sure we're just not going right back to where we were at before.
And
Can we
Kate,
ask as to why Jonesboro determined to repopulate after the work that we get it to the point?
Exactly. It was not necessarily my bailiwick on that one.
We, Mayor McNutt, that need to speak to about that.
It'd probably he'd be better to explain. I know that that is the person that was interested in buying it and cleaning it up. Then he presented it, which there's a lot of stipulations that were thrown on to it to be able to get it to go back in. Assuming air fell and the council fell, I sit on the council, but assumption for everybody is that the feeling is if it is done and it is done under a microscope, then it could be okay. But then we can see how.
Right. And here in the beginning, like I said, we've been on top of them. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? We've had contractors call us with issues and we've been right out there to talk about it. Alan, the manager, seems to be right on it. I mean, he's willing to, hey, come on, let's go, let's walk through, look at it. This has got this. I mean,
very transparent.
so some of the issues when we were talking with Steve Erie, evidently the state was in January and gave a whole bunch of stipulations, even to a point that they were tearing stuff down and burying it and then planning to bring trailers in over the top of it. I mean, there was quite a bit of stuff out there. So that's why we talked it with Steve. So that Steve's aware of it. He's making a new report that he'll get to us also, as far as what the state building and improvements that go through us. They're gonna put down. They're gonna fix the roads basically and permanently fix the roads once all trailers are in. They're looking at 55.
They are, from our old records, the trailer park had 59 places. They have down for those to where now it's only gonna hold 55 trailers. They paid for all the 55 trailers that they would be occupying. And the way they're doing it is they're starting with the back row, occupying the back row, fixing all those trailers, tearing down what they have. Then they'll fix the road and then they'll move up to the next row, bring in all those trailers that they need. Then they'll fix the road permanently and keep moving forward. They've already tore down the old, administration building that was falling down. That has been completely tore down on their hand, by them. The cleanup process was still going on when we met them last Tuesday.
Sounds like they're trying to do it the right way. They're gonna do it.
Yes.
What are they gonna do with the drainage pond out there? Because I don't know what's down at the bottom. Rumors I heard,
From what we
owners back, dump stuff in there that could still be in there.
According to Mayor McNutt and them, they are actually taking cameras through all of that. Through all the sewers. Steve Erie is also making it bring drains up, because a lot of them are plugged right now. So he's making them pull those up and scope them. They found several water leaks out there that they're in the process of correcting. Some of the trailers that are coming in have been beat up a little bit, so it's going to be a lot for him. But I'll be out there, so.
I know they got their hands full out there because there's a fire a little bit out there. But the gas company tells them, here's the gas line, and they're a mile away. Get the gas line.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Bothwell also brought up the Isaac's property, the barn. That is, with our former director and along with the history that Mr. Isaac has had, he has fought tooth and nail to get everything back. When I called him to let him know that we were gonna do the asbestos check or the asbestos removal, he wanted to have a chance to call state. I gave him a week. This is the week that Brent was coming back off of his vacation. Once he comes back in tomorrow, we'll have an exact start date that I will email you gentlemen on when the asbestos will be removed. When the highway department is able to remove it, I am not for sure because they wanted to get down what they've already promised us prior to the demolition. So boring property, the 415 South Water would be the last one that the highway department promised to tear down before we did the bids. And then once they get down 415, they're gonna come back in. David White and Gary will be coming back in, speaking with myself and possibly Ryan to start the date on when the rest will be coming down. I already told them that their next priority, once we get boring properties down, would be the Isaac's property.
Is that the county's excavator sitting at Isaac's?
No, the county excavator is actually sitting at 107 East 4th Street where they're filling in.
There's an excavator sitting by Isaac's barn there.
That was not ours, that I
Okay,
know.
it's sitting out in the back, I noticed this morning.
As far as I know, Brent's excavator is not on that property yet. He was going to inform me when he got back in town on what day he was starting on Isaac's.
Because when I see the county one, it's still out there on Woodland.
It got moved today to 107. So that's the picture that you've seen today with the excavator. That's the one that's sitting on 107 filling in.
So 107, they've got to get that foundation 36 inches below grade. So that's what they're doing. And we had one more thing. You guys, I'm not on the bank account. You guys actually have to vote to get me on the bank account.
We have to talk about that.
I can't go sign the signature card or nothing until you guys, without the meeting notes, actually without the approved meeting notes next.
Who do we need a motion?
The motion, on the bank account, we can sign.
Motion on the second. So we'll have a roll call.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Bass,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes,
Monroe,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes. The motion carries. Probably a good idea to have the executive director on the bank account.
I did want to add one thing though, also with Brenda and Sandy, our permits clerk. If it wasn't for those two guys holding the fort down, we wouldn't get most of this stuff done. I just wanted to publicly, Brenda's really been working hard so that we can get freed up to do this stuff.
So, anyone have correspondence or other business?
No, Tyson, for Ryan here, is there any way that we could pull off an executive session to get together so we can discuss the Mrs. Nelson's project?
Sure.
I think we need to do that so we all get on the same ticket here as to what we're looking at.
You can't do that in executive session, Bob. That's a public hearing matter, Bob. It doesn't qualify for executive session.
Oh, okay. So all this discussion has to be in the public then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Yep.
And then do we need to put that on the slate for next meetings?
I think you tabled it, so it's automatically to the next meeting.
The next meeting will consist of what then?
I would say, rediscussion of where you were. I would suppose, I mean, what I heard is you guys want a recommended something in writing, which you could see where you're restricting, any approval would be restricted to what they've described in their permit. And you'd like to see that in writing is what I heard.
Definitely.
But there's discussions about runoff and whatever.
You can continue to discuss because you made no vote. You've had the hearing, so any issue would still be at play for your discussion.
What'd you say? We couldn't vote?
No, you can still, yeah. And I mean, if you want to have someone come back or hear more, you can do that.
Well, it sounds like this is, what I'm hearing, it sounds like it needs to be quite a bit of a discussion.
We could bring it back to the next meeting. If we don't get done, we can table it again for another meeting.
Do we have any other correspondence or other business? Will be May 3rd, 2021. Is there any public input to the adjournment?
Yes.
To the growers. We recently purchased the processing plant, State Road 9, south of Fairmont. In doing some homework on recordings, etc., when we purchased it, all the title work, Brenda's got a copy of it, I asked her to have. There are some stipulations with the rezoning, which is prior to me buying it is zoned I-2 currently. We were made aware of that before we purchased it. My questions are on these stipulations. One of them is no retail sales. One of them is, pretty sad, I don't remember. Burning of hides, which is a process that is okayed or approved by USDA once you have a halal exemption. Can't do it inside because the fire marshal won't allow open flame inside. I'm a retired fireman. I know a fair amount about this as well. What else does that say? On the exceptions. Can I just look at it, please?
The property he's talking about, if you'll remember, with the slaughterhouse, it's Madison Grant.
This is totally different from Nelson's.
Right. This is some of the stipulations that are on them right now. Remembering back is some of the stuff we had was the animals getting loose and doing the
About
fencing.
2-3 years ago, they,
Right.
before,
Right.
I call them Florida. Take them.
Ryan, can I ask, what happened to that? It seemed like they was approved for everything. What took place?
As far as I know, probably knows more.
It's zoned I-2. No quarrel with that. I'm here to seek some information this evening. I don't see the stipulations listed in there that I have on my copy. But one of them is no retail sales. My question is why is that an issue? Because I wish to do that now that I own it. I'm from Indiana, just so you know. I don't know what the stipulations are in Grant County or what the ordinances are. I'm from Boone County. It's a little different down there than it is here. And I'm just seeking some answers. I've got information and there's been some changing of the guard here. Previous administration is not here for a reason, I gather. Neither here nor there, but I want to be a good neighbor. And I applied for a sign permit, which they granted today, I believe. And so my intentions are to do things right. There's new fence. It's a money pit, I'm not gonna lie. If anybody wants to buy me out, I'm taking offers. But we do intend to run it as a slaughter plant. We have state approval for, we could be state inspected by the Board of Animal Health, but I don't wish to have that. Right now, we are custom exempt. USDA is my plan because it opens up more options for us to move product. Once USDA is in there, I have a reserve number, so it's a red tape game at the moment, submitting paperwork, et cetera. So, I know there have been, I've looked at this plant for 5 years about buying it. I understand it's had a lot of problems. I don't want to be one of them, because that's the reason I haven't bought it up until recent. But, I've been in the meat business a long time. I have a large wholesale business outside of here. This is just another rung in the ladder of element of control on my end to the events that have happened in the last year. Slaughter plants, processing plants are full for 2 years, and it sucks. So if I own my own, I can process my own. So go back to my question. I don't know who wants to answer it, but what is the reasoning for no retail sale? Was that part of the zoning, or was that something that previous owners you had issues with, or what, if I'm privy to that?
I remember right when we did that. That was some of the stipulation we put them, because they would go to sell it back to, when they were doing it way their country or their beliefs or religion, certain ways they would buy it. That's why we did what we did.
Without going,
Butchering and wholesale. So that's, at that time, the stipulation was put in.
Burning the skins was put on because of the neighbors' concern. They're the ones that stepped forward on that. They didn't like the smell coming their direction.
What is it that you are requesting?
Answers.
You want to
So far,
you want to come back and ask for stipulations to be removed?
if that's an option, yes, I'll pose the question. If I want to sell meat out of the front of this plant, can I, once I jump through the hoops, you folks or the BZA, whomever? I can start that over here. My request, correct? Okay. Second thing with the burning of the hides, I don't know if any of you have been down State Road 9 lately. If the Garden Society would come through down there, look at my side of the road where the plant and the house are versus the west side of the road, I know who's going to get the blue ribbon, and it won't be across the road. So, doesn't like what I'm doing, I'm sorry, but I've heard all too often issues and complaints start from over there, and I'm not one to typically ruffle feathers unless I have to, but it is part of the process, and I don't know really how to get around it. SDA is in there, and that's basically their jurisdiction. The health department here, anywhere else, does not have any jurisdiction once I have that USDA stamp. That is the way I understand it. So their standards are, I hate to say high, stringent, I guess, department. In my county, I deal with the health department, and this particular inspector the last 8 years been written up. She tells me if I screw up, give me a chance to make it happen once. Last 8 years. I'm going to request that the kosher/halal exemption, once I have that documentation, is there going to be problems with me doing that in your guys' eyes? Complaints or no complaints?
I think through a conversation we had by in January, maybe.
It's been a few months.
One of the things was just to come in and kind of introduce himself and what he's planning on doing. So that's kind of what this is. Before we start the process, because of the issues that we've had out there. We didn't want it to be a, oh no, here we go again sort of thing, but to actually come in and state what we're doing.
I'm not associated with any of the previous owners, nor do I want to be ever. Just so you guys know that.
I think the steps for you to go through to initiate whatever it is through the office. And we'll approve.
Okay.
But you're wanting to burn the hides, is that what you said?
Say one more time.
You will be burning the hides?
Not 100%. It is is a ritual, but that's what I'm gonna call it. Certain ethnic folks, that is how they prefer their animal processed. It is slaughtered prior to the hides being burnt. There are at least 2 other USDA states that I'm aware of that do this. And it's a very common thing. So while I'll agree with the neighbor, it does, when you burn hair, it stinks. But that's the reason outside. We have a plan to try and eliminate some of that. But until I have all my documentation, USDA. So, but yes, to answer your question, we do intend to burn hides and run this as a law plant, as it has been previously just.
Glad I don't live next to you.
Well, I think the issue wasn't so much the tanning as the carcasses. And then the way they were leaving, if I remember right, the way they were leaving them out in the sun and stuff. They were doing it in that back road.
You read, correct?
Yeah, we were up there for,
Any improvements? You see any improvement?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it looks good. And the other thing,
Sure.
we didn't have the fence. So we kept having the animals get out. We now have a fence.
Remember that was earlier this year.
Yeah, so that was the fit, the animals were a mile down the road sort of thing.
That still may happen, I'm not gonna lie. But I hope that we've made every effort to alleviate that, and we are continuing to make a few adjustments. Some of the fence that is there is there, that's about it. And we're adding some new panels to it, to strengthen it up, et cetera, so.
The house next door, are you buying that too?
we own it.
Are you doing improvements to it?
We haven't touched it.
Okay.
It will happen, I assume there's another permit.
Yeah,
I'll apply for it.
okay. We'll talk about that.
Fair enough. Any other question for me with regard to my request or concerns or whatever? Like I said, my intentions are to be good, and I'm trying to do the right thing, so.
Now, did you say you have a slaughtering plant?
I do not, I have a meat business, wholesale business
Okay,
that I've had for many years.
but you don't butcher or anything?
Personally, I have it done, a USDA plant
Another plant?
that is existing. I hope.
So you're
I am
trying,
not part owner.
You're trying to protect your line with this.
With all the COVID crap in the last year, right, everybody going nuts, worse than normal. Every processing plant in the country is full for all of 2020, 21, and now into 2022. I've been doing business with this fella in Terre Haute for many years, but when there's money to be had, I get put on the back burner. I spend on average 200,000 a year over there just getting animals processed. That didn't pull crap for me last year. We since had a meeting, but regardless, he's 82, the old man that runs that. The writing's on the wall. This is something I need to own to continue to do business.
So protect your supply chain.
Basically. My brother is my partner. We were born and raised here, so like I said, hopefully we'll get along with it. Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stick around. Okay.
Is there any other public input? Have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
Second. 8:17.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida.
I'm gonna get a hold of Brett tomorrow. He said he should be back from vacation tomorrow.
Someone emailed us.
I hate to see it.
When you went to the mall, that church across the road.
Something we did all the time.
Which is what we.
They might have came in for fire, like.
The way for us to do it.